Thank you. I'm calling this meeting of Assembly Committee on Education to order. Welcome, everyone. And Secretary, will you please call roll?
Assemblywoman Duran.
Here.
Assemblyman Flores.
Present.
Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Here.
Assemblywoman Hanson.
Here.
Assemblywoman Hardy.
Here.
Assemblywoman Krasner.
Here.
Assemblywoman Marzola.
Here.
Assemblyman MacArthur.
Here.
Assemblywoman Miller.
Here.
Assemblywoman Nguyen.
Here.
Assemblywoman Tolles.
Here.
Assemblywoman Torres.
Here.
Chair Bilbray Axelrod.
Here. Thank you. And please note that all members are present, so we have a quorum. We will be losing, I believe, Assemblywoman Nguyen at some point for a bill presentation. And I will have to leave at some point. I am anticipating for a bill presentation. It's that time of year. So I will turn it over at that point to my vice chair, who also happens to be celebrating her birthday today. So you're going to get it. You're going to get it all over, vice chair. So happy birthday. So welcome to those viewing the meeting online or through our YouTube channel. Those participating by phone and video. We have two great bills today. Well, I shouldn't say they're great, but you guys will make that determination, but in my opinion. But before we start, I'd like to make some housekeeping announcements. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking to minimize background noise. Committee members, please keep your cameras on for the duration of the meeting to ensure that we have a quorum present. We do expect courtesy and respect in this committee. We don't always agree on policy, but we need to be respectful with each other and the legislative process. Just a reminder, meeting materials can be accessed on the committee's webpage on Nellis. And for those of you who are watching online in this virtual world, we do have several screens going on at once. So if you see members looking away or looking down, they're likely looking at another screen to view materials or to read the bill, etc. So as I said, we have two bill hearings this afternoon, and I have allocated equal time for testimony in support, opposition, and neutral. Each person providing testimony will be allowed maximum of 2 minutes, so try to stay as close to 2 minutes as you can. Staff will time each speaker to ensure that everyone is given an equal opportunity to speak. Speakers are urged to avoid repetition. We love to hear ditto or that caller said exactly what I wanted to say, and we'll make sure we get that on the record. We will limit the overall testimony for each period to about 30 minutes roughly. If you wish to testify and have not done so already, please register online through the link provided on the agenda for the meeting. Upon successful registration, you will receive a telephone number, meeting ID, and instructions for joining the meeting. So that we have an accurate record and count, we ask that you do not share the information, but instead encourage others to register online to participate. You may also submit public comment in writing, either in addition to or in lieu of testifying. If you do not want to testify, but you still want to register your interest in a particular bill, you are welcome to do that. The chair, myself, or a member of the committee may request testifiers to submit documentation supporting their testimony. So now I'm going to open the hearing on AB 156. This bill revises provisions governing the waiver by the Board of Regents of the University of Nevada of certain fees for active members of the Nevada National Guard. Assemblywoman Titus, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to present my bill today. For the record, I am Robin Titus, Assembly District 38, and thank you again for your time and consideration of AB 156. This bill revised provisions governing waivers of registration and lab fees by the Board of Regents for active members of the Nevada National Guard. With me this afternoon is Jerome Guerrero, Deputy Chief of Staff with the Nevada Army National Guard, I'm going to provide some background and then I'm going to turn it over to him. So a little background. In 2005, Senate Bill 78 made permanent the fee waiver program for active members of the Nevada National Guard attending a school as either a full or part-time student in the Nevada System of Higher Education, or NCHE. This program allows eligible active Guard members to register for courses without a registration fee, i.e. Resident tuition, as well as without laboratory fees, if applicable. To be eligible for the fee waiver program, active members must, one, be in good standing with the Nevada National Guard, and two, maintain at least a 2.0 grade point average, or GPA, and a 4-point grading scale, or the equivalent of a 2-point GPA if a different grading scale is used. The fee waiver program was originally introduced and passed as a valuable recruitment and retention tool for the Guard in order for Nevada to maintain its ability to respond to current emergencies. It was also a program that expands educational career pathways for members of the National Guard. The emergencies and needed responses may have changed since the original legislation. However, the Guard and its members are still just as critical to Nevada. With the COVID-19 pandemic, we've been reminding of the Guard's critical role as they've been active since last April and are assisting with community-based testing, contract tracing, food distribution, laboratory and logistical support testing, and staffing emergencies operations throughout the state. They're also providing infrastructure support to allow vaccination sites to operate, and among many other critical duties. AB 56 would authorize an active member of the Nevada National Guard who re-enlist to assign their waiver to a spouse or child in lieu of themselves during the re-enlistment period. This allowance would be irrespective of whether the Guard member used a waiver or not prior to re-enlistment. I think that the reason that Mr. Guerrero reached out to me was, and he'll explain that a little bit more in detail, but I think it's critical that we encourage our members to re-enlist, and this would be one of the incentives to do so. And again, I want to re-emphasize that it's in lieu of having the benefit for themselves. So with that, Madam Chair and members of the committee, it's going to conclude what I'm going to do as a background, and I'll fall back up after Mr. Guerrero gives his presentation of the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Colonel Guerrero. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for Personnel for the Nevada Army National Guard. And what I could tell you that this bill directly provides, as Assemblywoman Titus mentioned, is increased retention for our units. Our units have provided, and just to kind of recap some of the things that Assemblywoman Titus mentioned, we've supported 1.6 million tests throughout the state of Nevada for COVID testing. We've supported over 600,000 vaccinations within the state. We've helped support the distribution of 2.9 million meals, partnered with various community partners and the school districts to provide meals to students. And again, the call center support, contracting support, state and county labs. So you can see we've been very busy over the course of the last year with COVID. Prior to that, we continuously support wildland fires, flooding emergencies throughout the state. Retention for us falls anywhere between 10 and 20% a year, meaning we're losing that percentage of our force every year. The average cost for a basic trainee to go through the training pipeline is about $86,000. When you include their special military occupational skill that they receive, that's typically another $20,000 to $60,000 that is spent to get those individuals trained. So we are really vested in keeping our soldiers and airmen in uniform. We believe that this bill would do an incredible job to help bridge that gap between that initial 6-year reenlistment, get them past 10 years, because data has shown that once we get a service member to their 10th year, they're typically going to make it to their 20th year and be eligible for retirement. So we believe this bill will, one, help improve our retention so we can better serve the citizens of Nevada. We believe it'll also help the lives of our soldiers and our airmen in uniform, improve their quality of life. Many of our soldiers are usually working full-time, their spouses usually working full-time, and frankly, without this, they struggle to get that college education if we were not to provide this. Another issue that the military is facing at large, I'm sure many of you have heard, suicide rates in the military are rather high. Statistical data has shown that adults over the age of 25 with any type of college degree are the lowest percentile for suicide attempts. So hoping that when we introduce this bill and get this passed, that could help affect our suicide rates within the military. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. One last thing I would leave you, the current numbers of waivers we have currently, about 500 for the Army Guard and about 200 airmen on the air side currently use the waiver program for this current semester. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, if I might, then I'll just quickly look at the bill and then we can go line item on the bill and then we'll open it up to questions if that is okay with you.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So on the bill itself, hopefully folks have a copy of it. And what we're asking under section 1 is simply that if a member re-enlists, as we stated, it's in lieu of them getting it. So it wouldn't be like they're double dipping for those services. So that's what the first section adds. And again, just to reiterate, this is already existing law that they get these privileges or these benefits, and we're just expanding on that. And then the number 5 under section 1 just talks about who they can assign it to and what their requirements will be. And then on number 7, it also talks about having a record of assignment and basically just reassign it. And so that's really, and then it also defines on number 8, a spouse includes a domestic partner as set forth in NRS. So with that, I will happily, we will both happily take any questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Assemblywoman Titus. And it could have been on my end, but Mr. Guerrero cut out a little bit on the price to when I actually had it written down, what does it cost to train a member if they do not re-enlist? And I know you said the number, but you kind of broke up for me a little bit. So could you say that again?
Sure, no problem. The cost for basic training is $86,000. And then from basic training, they would go on to one of their advanced military occupational skills. And so depending on what skill they join the Guard to get, it's anywhere from an additional $20,000 to up to $60,000, depending on the length of the school.
Well, I'm sure glad I asked you to clarify because I had thought you said 8,000 and that seemed low, but so I'm glad you clarified. And thank you for bringing up the statistic about the suicide rate for college grads. I was not aware of that. So that's definitely an incentive to get our soldiers into university. Do I have other questions from members? Have everybody up. Does anybody? Okay, I've got Assemblywoman Hardy. Anyone else? Okay, Assemblywoman Hardy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman Titus, for this bill. So I just wanted to make sure I understand it correctly. So they could have the waiver for each period of re-enlistment. Is that correct?
Correct. They have to, well, one-time re-enlistment, and it's in lieu of themselves getting it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions from committee members? I am not seeing any, so we will go ahead and take testimony in support, opposition, and neutral of AB 156. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name and limit your testimony to as close as you can to 2 minutes. We will begin with support of AB 156.
I testify in support. Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. testify in support on AB 156, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller, with the last 3 digits of 786, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller, if you are unmuted, we can't hear you. You may need to unmute your cell phone.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair.
Okay, my name is David Souza. It's S-O-U-S-A. I'm a former member of the Nevada Army National Guard. I served as a battalion career counselor for the 422nd Expeditionary Signal Battalion. This bill that is up before you is very vital for our military careers. As a career counselor, it's imperative upon us to give the soldier the most information they can for their career, and for us to give back to our families. That is a major thing for this. There was a GI Bill called the Forever GI Bill, and that also addressed the issue of transferring it to their family members. And this is huge for us in the military community. Colonel Guerrero did talk about the cost of bringing in a new soldier, but that experience of a 15-year soldier is more valuable than the dollar amount that you hear today. And I would ask you to support this bill for passage.
Thank you, Mr. Souza. Broadcast services, do we have anyone else calling in support?
For those who just joined, to testify in support on AB 156, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller, with the last 3 digits of 747, please fully state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Chair and committee members, for the record, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbit, last name L-E, P as in Paul, E-I-L, B as in boy, E-T. And I represent the combat wounded veterans in the state of Nevada, the thousands of them in the Military Order of the Purple Heart. I represent the 70,000 disabled American veterans in the state of Nevada, and I'm the current chair of the United Veterans Legislative Council. And we are totally in support of this bill. It helps retention significantly in our military. When an individual doesn't require that waiver for his own individual education, it now passed to the spouse of the child, which is well overdue and an essential element to retain our National Guard members. So the groups I represent totally support the passage of this bill. Thank you very much, Chair and committee members.
Thank you for your call. Is there anyone else on the line for support?
Testify in support on AB 156. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. To testify in support on AB 156, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, at this time, I have no more callers in the queue to testify in support on AB 156.
Thank you. Next, we will hear testimony in opposition of AB 156. Is there anyone wishing to testify in opposition?
To testify in opposition on AB 156, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. To testify in opposition on AB 156, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, at this time, the line is open and working, but there are no callers in queue to testify in opposition on AB 156.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral on this bill?
To testify in neutral on AB 156, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 837, please press star 6 now to unmute. Caller with the last 3 digits of 836, please fully state and spell your name for the record. You will have minutes and may begin.
This is 837, but I think it's me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This is Kent Irvin, K-E-N-T-E-R-V-I-N, for the Nevada Faculty Alliance, the statewide independent association of NSHE faculty. We work to empower faculty to be fully engaged in our mission to help students succeed. We are generally supportive of these bills to support our National Guard and other military personnel and support their efforts to get their college educations. We are just in the neutral position because of the unfunded mandate in a time of budget cuts, and just pointing out that there may be better ways to provide direct support to the students involved rather than a tuition waiver that is an unfunded mandate. Thank you.
I think that would probably be considered opposition. So neutral would just be neutral. So we're going to go ahead and put that in the opposition pile. But I also want to remember, committee members, that we are a policy committee. We're not a money committee. So we're just getting that here, and we'll send it over to Ways and Means to deal with the numbers. But we'll put that in the correct column. Thank you for your call. Is there anyone else in neutral?
To testify in neutral on AB 156, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, at this time, the line is open and working, but there are no more callers to testify in neutral on AB 156 in the queue.
Thank you very much. And Assemblywoman Titus, did you want to make any closing remarks?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the committee's time to listen to this bill, and I hopefully you see the benefits of it, and thanking our National Guard and Colonel Guillermo for being part of this. So I appreciate it, and I wish you all a good day.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll close the hearing on AB 156, and I will open the hearing on AB 165. This bill revises provisions governing tuition for veterans. Assemblywoman Hardy, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I am Melissa Hardy, representing Assembly District 22 in Clark County. I am pleased to have the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 165 before you today, which represents a key tool in supporting our military veterans. With me this afternoon to help present the bill is Tony Yarbrough, Secretary with the United Veterans Legislative Council of the Nevada Department of Veteran Services, and Byron Brooks. He is a good friend of mine, and I had the honor of working with him. He has been my Veterans Outreach Coordinator, and he is also a distinguished Army veteran. This bill comes before you today as a recommendation from the United Veterans Legislative Council, and I am honored to sponsor it. The Nevada Legislature has a record of proactively addressing student veterans transition issues. The various pieces of legislation passed by this body demonstrates our support to veterans, active members of the armed forces, and their dependents. In 2013, Nevada was among the first states to offer in-state tuition rates to qualifying non-resident veterans who enrolled in a Nevada system of higher education institution. Assembly Bill 260 enabled in-state tuition at Nevada's public colleges and universities if the veteran was honorably discharged within the 2 years immediately preceding matriculation. This body passed this important legislation 2 years before the federal government enacted a similar requirement. In 2015, AB 76 took these benefits a step further by extending from 2 years to 5 years the time period in which an honorably discharged veteran would be exempted from non-resident tuition at NSHE institutions. According to the Veterans Enrollment Reports from the Office of Academic and Student Affairs, in academic year 2016 to 17, 280 veterans were deemed residents for tuition purposes. In addition, in academic year 2019 to 20, 725 new and continuing veterans were deemed residents for tuition purposes. The essential measures passed in 2013 and 2015 have saved hundreds of veterans and their families thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket tuition fees. Our military veterans give us so much. They risk their own lives and sacrifice time with families, good pay, and a safe working environment in order to allow us to feel safe at home, including a time frame in which they must pursue higher education following their service, assumes our veterans know what path they would like to take upon leaving the military. However, it takes time to transition from the military world to the civilian world to the academic world. We owe them this time. The federal government also recognizes this important transition time for veterans, which is why they enacted the Forever GI Bill. For veterans who separate from active service on or after January 1st, 2013, the new GI Bill removes the use it or lose it rule that gave veterans an expiration date to use their education benefits. Our veterans deserve the opportunity to come home and have access to quality higher education so they can pursue their post-military goals whenever they are ready. We can provide it, and Nevada can and will be an opportunity. This is why I'm proud to introduce AB 165, which removes the 5-year limitation on assessing tuition charges against honorably discharged veterans. Additionally, the Board of Regents could not assess those tuition charges against all veterans that were honorably discharged. Madam Chair, I think you will agree with me that our veterans who risk their own lives to protect us at home and spread the cause of freedom and liberty around the world have earned the right to achieve higher education here at home. I would like to add some final information. The Johnny Isaacson and David P. Rowe MD Veterans Healthcare and Benefits Improvement Act of 2020, which became public law on January 5th, 2021, is a comprehensive federal bill touching all aspects of veterans benefits and healthcare. Among the many provisions, the act expands eligibility for in-state tuition to all GI Bill students, directs the Department of Veterans Affairs to create a website with a database to include any public schools in-state tuition requirements, and allows the VA to disapprove any school that does not provide the VA with certain information on these requirements. Even though the provisions of AB 161 may now be required by federal law, I believe enacting these provisions in Nevada revised statutes is necessary to ensure that we continually take care of our veterans and continue demonstrating our commitment to them in our state. I think this bill will go a long way towards keeping more Nevadans working in our state, raising families here, and taking advantage of the high quality, high paying jobs for which Nevada has long been known. I urge your support for AB 165, and now I would like to turn it over to Mr. Yarbrough and then Mr. Brooks for their remarks, and then at that time we can take questions. I also have on the line some representatives from NSHE to answer any technical questions. So if that is okay with you, Madam Chair, that's how I'd like to proceed.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, committee members, and I would really like to thank Assemblywoman Hardy for bringing this bill forward. I have been very, very deep into the fight over the last 4 sessions on trying to reach this goal, and I can tell you that every session has been a challenge trying to resolve this particular situation. And of course, there's always the issue directly related to any kind of a monetary issue behind it or attached to it. And this time, I think that we've really got it. And of course, it doesn't hurt one bit to make it consistent with the federal law. That certainly makes it better. I can tell you that, your history that you gave us behind this whole thing, Assemblywoman, was spot on, every word. And I don't know that I can really add anything to that because you said it all. Thank you very much for inviting me and allowing me to participate.
Thank you. And Mr. Brooks, would you like to make a
Yes,
statement?
hi. Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. So this piece of legislation will protect federal regulations through state legislation in order to thwart education policy deviations. It will continue to ensure that Nevada continues to provide veterans seeking higher education with the best chance of success by minimizing financial obligations and recognizing that some transitioning veterans may face significant obstacles which will delay their entry into the education arena. By removing the 5-year timetable and allowing out-of-state veterans to declare residency, with which the state is providing essentially as an additional pathway for veterans to be successful through higher education opportunities. Another consideration to support this legislation is that our higher education institutions will have another tool in marketing individual campus capabilities to separating service members who are currently stationed at one of the military installations in Nevada, but may have a home of record in another state. What I do want to clarify is that while I am a Board of Regent, and I should have opened up with this, while I am on the Board of Regents, I am here testifying in support of this bill as an individual, as a veteran advocate, and as Assemblywoman Melissa Hardy, Veteran Outreach Coordinator. Having said that, the Nevada system of higher education has previously determined that with the expansion of AB 76, the number of veterans seeking residency status will grow by eliminating this 5-year timetable. A consideration can be made that Nevada will see a much larger influx of veterans attending one of our higher education campuses. So the potential long-term economic possibility of an influx is that veterans who graduate from one of our higher education institutions will hopefully stay in Nevada and contribute to our local economy. I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate your consideration of this legislation, and thank you, Assemblywoman Hardy, for bringing this bill forward.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. I'm not sure if, yep, there it is. Our chair just had to leave for to go present a bill in another committee. So thank you with that. Mr. Brooks, does that end your comments? And Assemblywoman Hardy, do you have any additional people that will testify?
Vice Chair, that does end my comments. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Vice Chair, that was what I had for the presentation. And then I do have people from INSHE on here. So to answer any technical questions in that aspect.
Okay, great. So we will open it up for questions. Members, do we have any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions from anyone. So without any questions, then we can move into testimony in support for AB 165. So broadcasting, if you could cue any callers that want to testify in support for Assembly Bill 165.
Thank you, Vice Chair. To testify in support on AB 165, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 850, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chair and members of the Assembly Committee on Education. This is Kat Miller, Director of the Nevada Department of Veteran Services. I spell K-A-T-M-I-L-L-E-R. Thank you for the opportunity to present in support of AB 165. I wanted to come to talk with you today just to let you know that changes in veterans' benefits occur with regularity and can and do cause confusion among veterans and their families as to what benefits they might be eligible for. A case in point was the passage of the Veterans Care and Benefits Improvement Act of 2020 that was mentioned earlier by Assemblywoman Hardy. This new law removes the requirement for covered individuals to enroll in a course at a public institution of higher learning within 3 years. The nice thing about AB 165 is it would ensure Nevada law necessarily follows suit in eliminating these enrollment time limits, making very clear to veterans that this former federal barrier to seeking a college degree has been eliminated. And Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee, that concludes my comments. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Director Miller. Do we have any additional callers?
We do, Vice Chair. Caller with the last 3 digits of 747. Please press star 6 now to unmute. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Vice Chair and committee members, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbit, last name L-E-P-E-I-L-B-E-T, and I represent the combat wounded veterans in the Military Order of the Purple Heart, the thousands of them, the disabled American veterans in the state of Nevada, which there are 70,000, and I am the current chair of the United Veterans Legislative Council, representing nearly 250,000 veterans and 500,000 Nevadans when you include their families. One of the subjects here in support of this bill, and we are in support, is taking into recognition the many tours of duty that's gone on with our veterans and our Guard and our military over the last 20 years. We as a nation never experienced that. So many of our people, it takes a while to readjust, especially after multiple tours of duty, and some of which are eyeball to eyeball to an enemy. And people wonder why we need to have anything longer than 5 years. It takes quite a while for many of them. We got to help them back into the society and help them function. This gives them the opportunity to get that education they wanted without the limitation of that short period of time. So the United Veterans Legislative Council, the Disabled American Veterans, and the Military Order of the Purple Heart fully support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 786. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Vice Chair and committee members, my name is David Souza, S-O-U-S-A. I joined the support of AB 165 as I retired from the active Army in 2015. This legislation will allow me to use my benefits in the state of Nevada, and it's important that people like me and people that are out of state get this opportunity to come to the state of Nevada and receive these benefits past the 5-year limitation that's currently in the books. If you pass this bill, it'll remove it, and it'll match the forever GI Bill's use it or lose it clause, where we will have an opportunity to use it. When I got out of the military, personally, it was hard for me to go back into school as I was looking for a job or seeking medical care or just whatever multitude of tasks that I have when I get out of the military. And this will open the doors for that, for allowing me to get the education I need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caller with the last three digits of 911. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello, committee. This is Sandra Cosgrove, SONDRACOSGROVE. I am a history professor at the College of Southern Nevada and the executive director of Vote Nevada. I teach at the North Las Vegas campus of CSN, so many of my students are veterans, and they're some of my best students. I love my veteran students, but they have busy lives. They've got family. Sometimes they need to maybe take a mental health break and get some counseling. And I always want to make sure that they're able to do that and not feel the stress that they're going to lose their benefits. So I wholeheartedly support this bill, and I thank the Assemblywoman for bringing it. Thank you.
To testify in support on AB 165, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, at this time, the line is open and working, but there are no more callers in the queue for support on AB 165.
Thank you. Can we open it up for those who wish to testify in opposition to AB 165?
To testify in opposition on AB 165, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. To testify in opposition on AB 165, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, at this time, the line is open and working, but there are no callers in opposition on AB 165.
Okay. Can we open it up in case there's anyone who would like to testify in neutral?
To testify in neutral on AB 165, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 837, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon. This is Kent Irvin, KENT-ERVIN for the Nevada Faculty Alliance. We're in neutral on this bill. Again, we're in support of all the changes to the bill. I would like to make a couple of observations. There are 18 million veterans in the United States, and the intent for this bill and what I've heard seems to be to allow them to come to Nevada and become residents immediately and get in-state tuition, which is wonderful. I would just point out that many of our courses are now online. Whole degree programs are online. And what I haven't heard is whether this bill would classify those students as, even if they're out of state, as in-state for funding purposes. And so that's a question on this bill. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you with that. Again, that sounds more like it's in opposition, and we are not able to respond to questions. But of course, you're more than welcome to follow up with the Assemblywoman sponsoring the bill or anyone else that that did testify in support. Do we have anyone else in neutral?
Testify in neutral on AB 165, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 217, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
My name is Ed Gonzalez, Gonzalez. I actually was trying to speak in support of the bill, but couldn't get online. So I just wanted to speak in support of AB 165. Anything we can do to remove obstacles for our veterans and make higher education more affordable to our veteran community is always greatly appreciated. I also want to thank Assemblywoman Hardy, Regent Brooks, and others for bringing this bill forward. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll make sure that your testimony is recorded in support. Thank you.
Testify in neutral on AB 165. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, at this time, the line is open and working, but there are no more callers to testify in neutral on AB 165.
Okay, thank you. Assemblywoman Hardy, do you have any final remarks you would like to make?
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Chair and Committee, for hearing this bill. During the interim, I served on the Veteran Services Commission, which I consider an honor. And one thing I knew going into this legislative session was that I wanted to sponsor a bill that would help our veterans. And as I stated earlier, they and their families risk and sacrifice so much. We just can't even imagine. And so whatever we can do as citizens and as a legislature to help them in their lives, I feel that it's important that we do that. So I thank you for hearing this bill. I think you wanted to thank all the people that were here during the hearing to support me. I'm very appreciative of that. And I hope that you will support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman, and thank you for bringing this legislation forward and for sponsoring it. With that, I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 165. And next on our agenda is public comment. So again, broadcasting, please get everyone that's in the queue for public comment, please get them ready. Those of you wishing to make public comment, please remember that your comments must fall within the purview of this committee. Also, we ask that you keep your comments to 2 minutes per person. And with that, broadcasting, when you're ready, we'll go ahead with public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair. To testify with public comment, please press star 9 now to join the queue. If you wish to participate in public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, the line is open and working. We have no callers in the queue for public comment at this time.
Okay, let's just wait a few more moments because we always want to make sure we know with dialing in and such. So let's just wait a few more moments.
Of course, Vice Chair. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I think we gave a little time just to make sure we were able to capture everyone. Is there anyone on the line right now, please, broadcasting?
To participate in public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Vice Chair, at this time, the line is open and working, but there are no callers to give public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. So with that, not seeing any callers on the line, we will go ahead and close that agenda item. And I will also, this concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be Thursday, March 4th at 1:30. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.